I'm seeing it. Oh, oh, back on cam. Hey, there we are. Oh my God, everybody. Bitcoin at all-time highs.
We did it.
We made it. Back at the all-time highs. It is episode 66, everybody. Welcome back to Hero Labs Live. My name is Random Task, also known as RT, co-hosting here with Nick Cote. Nick.
Hey.
We made it. I mean, we've been lingering around 20K for a while, and I think people are like, we just don't know when we're gonna get there. It was about when, if not when, not if. And this is just the day. This is the day. I'm not even gonna talk about anything else. That's it. Just Bitcoin. Tastes great. Altcoins are actually kind of catching a bit here. I think it's like, I'm expecting some altcoin volatility to the upside, actually, for a little while now, as you know, through December. And I think there was a lot of hesitation because it was like, well, fuck, if Bitcoin goes down, if Bitcoin's going to pull back, Bitcoin's going to ruin the day and head down that $12,000 retest or whatever. I don't want to be in altcoins. And now Bitcoin's like, nah, I think we're just going to be a bull market. So suddenly seeing some nice bids coming in on altcoins, at least versus USD. ETH BTC is holding up. There was a nice wick down today below a key level that I was watching, and then it just kind of came back up. And in fact, get the 4 hour here. We'll look at this on the screen in a sec. The 4 hour closed in sort of like a doji, kind of reversally or at least neutral. So really exciting. And of course, the most exciting thing that could happen is where Bitcoin and altcoins just move up together. That is the absolute mother lode of pleasure in the market for the bulls, because it's just compounding on itself. It's like, hey, look at that. This thing is worth more Bitcoin. Oh, and look at that. Bitcoin's worth more US dollars. So that's something I'm always watching for. And we'll be watching very closely for this, because this is a pretty symbolic gesture from Bitcoin. Let's pull up the weekly. I just can't wait. We got to get this weekly on there. It's a totally new view. I just did up a little chart today, just to give like a new kind of a new perspective. Finally, we can look up. I think, through all of this, it was like, oh, look where we've come from, and this idea of like, we got to zigzag our way up. And we could still do that. Of course, anything on the table when it comes to Bitcoin. But this view is just so bullish, so sexy. Didn't get a big rejection. I mean, zoomed in, there was a lot of noise in there, and oh my God, it's funny to zoom out on the weekly and you're like, it looks so peaceful. Just a little green candle, a little red candle. When you're in there on the hourly, you're like, oh my God, down 3K. But looking at this, I drew this up today, like just, kind of like give a little perspective. If you did a fib extension of the last low to the last high, that actually kicks us out a target of 341,000 US dollars for this cycle. Is it going to happen? Possibly. I mean, everything I trade is always like fib extensions from the last big move. It wouldn't be at all shocking to get that from a TA perspective. But of course, we're in disbelief. We're like, really? Really? We're going up that high? I mean, 30,000 would be a blessing. 50,000 would be a blessing. 100,000 would be a blessing. But the 1.618 has not steered me wrong too often. Someday, I think that makes a lot of sense. I want to keep it simple here on TA. So anyways, something to think about. Very exciting day. We've come so far. I've been through the gutter at least twice since the last bull market high. And, we could tell stories all day about where were you on December 17th, 2017, when all your dreams were captured and taken away in just the blink of an eye, when the CME futures went live and Bitcoin topped and came crashing down. Where were you, Nick, by the way, on that fine day?
I don't know, probably at the Amsterdam Cafe in Vancouver.
Nice.
I think I traded most of the August to December out of there, to be honest.
Yeah,
Chill
well,
place to be.
that was actually before I was like able to short. I mean, I kind of had heard about BitMEX, hadn't really used it. Definitely, and I remember joking with my friends and kind of speculating, be like, because the hype was, CME futures goes live, all this institutional money is going to flow in. And I always
Yeah.
remember kind of joking, being like, why would they come in and they look at this chart and they're like, oh, I better buy that if they can short it. And at the time, I was kind of like, haha, wouldn't that be funny? And then it happened, and I was like, oh, wait, that was a trade of the century. So, that, and then of course, alts kept running for 3 or 4 weeks up until January 7th, 2018. And then the wheels came off in a big, nasty way. So, for any of you who have been here since then and through all that, I commend you. You made it. We're out here and we're still here. And if you're tuning into the stream each week and taking that extra little leap and maybe even taking some notes and trying to really learn this stuff and asking questions and signing up for courses and reading books and all that stuff, really trying to equip yourself with the tools to navigate this market beyond just one stream or one account on Twitter or whatever it is that maybe early on we all kind of look to get some edge. Then shout out to you, because you're taking the time and putting in the effort to really optimize. I really do think that the 2020s are going to present an absolutely mind-bending opportunity for everyone who's maybe in that sort of middle class that's kind of getting sucked down out of the place where they can even buy a house or whatever with their jobs. So I've made it an effort of my own to really put a ton of effort into all the boring shit, journaling, reading books, stuff that maybe isn't the sexiest part of making money. And it's been hard. Yeah, it's necessary, and it's hard, man. I have never blown an account like on futures, like an absolute like blowout liquidation, but I've blown big trades. I once blew out half a Bitcoin back when that was, and that's still significant, but I mean back when that was like half of my BitMEX account, and I fucking lost it on one trade. A slippery high leverage trade where my stop market didn't trigger for like $60. I've learned some fucking lessons, and all I can say is, whatever you guys are going through and went through, you've made it this far, and I think this is the beginning of a bull market, not the end. So pat yourself on the back. Really fired up. Came out with a little morning rant. What are you looking at, Nick? I see some beautiful looking charts over there. What do you got?
I'm just pulling up the inflow data right now, see what it looks like onto exchanges at these prices.
Yeah, it's a good call. So what are the big wallets doing with their Bitcoin? Are they moving them off the exchange saying we're ready to hold, or are they moving them in to try to sell?
Asia is moving them on to exchanges.
Oh God, Asian session tonight, eh?
Like, I don't blame people. It's like all-time highs. It's a good time to take some profit if you're just a trader. Obviously, investors are piling in at pretty much any price level these days. Vertical accumulation, sideways accumulation, downwards accumulation is the Ponzi scheme on Bitcoin. And it is a Ponzi scheme by natural design. How? Because miners are natural sellers, right? They need to cover their costs of operations. So unless demand exceeds their sell pressure, price will go down, right? So there always needs to be an influx of new buyers. So by definition, it's a Ponzi scheme. Obviously, there's negative connotations around that, but that's just Bitcoin's brilliant economic design. It rewards early people to adopt the technology. And now that Bitcoin has found the narrative of being a store of value, protecting against negative yielding interest rates, it'll perform as such. Like the expansions on GBTC premiums, they'll continue. We'll probably see a lot more proxy ETFs through companies like MicroStrategy. They're probably going to be bigger ones. I just saw that American Express invested in a OTC desk called Falcon X. So this is what the beginning phase of the early majority looks like in the adoption cycles. So as long as the inflows outweigh the outflows, the supply ratio is definitely in favor of demand right now. So number will continue to slide up. There was be corrections, of course, but the underlying point here is that the Ponzi-nomics are in full bull territory right now. And all we need to do now is just keep an eye on inflows, monitor the outflows. That's going to, so Bitcoin's primary use right now, if you're tracking wallets, look at the ones who are over 10 BTC, over 100 BTC, over 1,000 BTC. The ones that are increasing most are the larger wallets, which shows, the adoption, proves the adoption is coming from the institutional side. Retail are still probably feeling pretty burnt after 2017, but I do suspect we're going to start seeing some retail coming in here just because Bitcoin is over 20K. Yeah. And I've always said that we're not going to see retail come in until those all-time highs are broken and we're trading above them. Because what it does psychologically, people say, oh, it's back. And now it's holding above this level. It's just, the risk of downside is actually, in their minds, is actually less buying into something with high momentum behind it, which we always talk about. But yeah, the point is that institutional flow is going to continue to outweigh the natural sellers for miners, right, for the foreseeable future. So, numbers should continue to go up. All dips will be for buying, and until we see a reversion on those metrics, then all's okay. There's no blatant sell signals at the moment.
I love you when you're bullish.
Yeah.
I mean, I love you when you're bearish too, but I love you more when you're bullish. You're so bullish when you talk about things like metrics.
Yeah, it's just like I said, Bitcoin's just the greatest. It has so many Ponzi-nomics to it, and it's not always a bad thing, right? So yeah, I think it's okay right now. Everything looks good, but I do think we will see 2K swings in the near future for sure.
Yeah. Now Edge Hunter 10, who I believe may or may not be Jim Reardon, shout out to Jimmy boy if that is you. Either way, pointed out that he is waiting for a 20-week SMA to get in, and that's not a bad idea. I mean, one thing you got to remember too, I actually did buy some Bitcoin this morning. I was like, holy shit, why do I have Tether in my account? We're at 9,700 with building momentum. I'm just gonna buy some, and I did. Not firing up big leverage longs or anything near the highs. I wouldn't fuck with that because I just don't have a setup, and it's just a great way to lose on a wick right before the bull. But I slapped some into because I had some Tether in my spot account. I was like, what is this doing here on this fine day? And then we broke 20K. I was like, oh my God. So really nice, nothing crazy, but a little bit. But ultimately, the 20-week moving SMA, I'm going to pull it up right now because it's actually not one I look at very often, but it's, what am I looking at? Indicators. Let's pull that up. Slow moving average. So if you want to switch over, yeah. So, okay, so we're on my screen. Let's go check it out. Where is it? Right up here. So you got to switch your length of the moving average to 20. So it's going to average the 20 previous candles. And as you can see, during a bull market, this thing does really well. There's a reason why you hear about it so much. People love this thing. So let's get a real good look at it because, that's a good point. On a day like today, you're like, okay, so we're a bull. What do I do? Not a great day. I don't know. I'm not giving financial advice, but it's not a great day to now I'm a bull and I'm going to go all in. I think strategy should remain rational, whether that's, DCAing like I kind of did today. I didn't go all in, but I definitely bought some because I just woke up and I was like, holy shit, I think it might happen today. And I've got this stupid Tether sitting here. I still have a little bit of Tether. It's just not in that wallet. But look, you see what happened here. I don't even know if this is the best chart for it because I'd rather see Bitstamp so we can see what the highs were looking like. Yeah. So last time we broke the all-time highs. You guys know I've got this chart from before, 11,000 or 1,100, and right. So it was a lot of chop around the all-time highs, and then it was just let's go. Each time there's a big dump, the 20 SMA holds up. And in fact, if you were waiting to buy every time that the SMA touched, you would have had 1, 2, 3 buying opportunities. And those aren't easy. If I recall correctly, I wasn't around for this one, March 2017. That was actually just before I joined. But this was the Bcash fork drama, right? When they said, BCH chain, like Bitcoin chain is going to fork. If not enough miners go to Bitcoin or stay on Bitcoin, it's going to crash. Like the actual network may just shut down forever. You'll lose all your Bitcoin. It was not easy to buy this based on, like, of course, when you're making big decisions, what do? Right? You go to Twitter, you go to news, you say, oh, you look for evidence. It was a very scary time right here at that moment for like myself, especially as like a newer participant. And then over here, it was China banned Bitcoin. Oh my God, this was the top. That was it. We're going down. But again, 20 SMA and continue. So have that plan in place because when the 20 SMA hits, most people won't want to buy. There'll be some kind of reason to panic in the market. That's why it's going to hit the 20 SMA. But I hear you, Jim. I think that's a great idea. Having a plan, looking at it objectively, saying this is where I will buy, no matter what the narrative is at that moment. And in a bull, this thing does really well, holds up great. So I'm glad you brought that up, Jimbo. We're really far away from it right now. I mean, it's at 14,000. That's actually a level that, for a few reasons, I might be looking at. I believe there is a 382 around there. Yeah. So, yeah, at some point, what is that going to look like? I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's see if we can find some confluence. I know that there is a fib extension level right where we are now. Oh, shit. That's different. That's weird. I have another chart where this is not 34,000. Why is that?
What?
Yeah, look at this chart. So from the same low to the June 19 highs, the 618 is 20,600. We're already there. So what the heck is going on here? Is a log chart. That's why. It is the log. Okay, that's why. So in the non-log chart, maybe we should be on a log. I don't know. But in the non-log chart, you can actually see we're at a fib extension right now, which is a level I've been watching for weeks, as far as maybe even like, oh my God, we're going to squeeze up and then get smacked down. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on this level. There's one thing you should know. There's a sick Gann horizontal here. And I say sick because these things are invisible to most. They come out of the blue. You take this pivot, measure to that pivot, creates this big Gann square. And you can see this horizontal was like our resistance through the summer. And we broke through it, and now we've reached the next horizontal. Is that going to be resistance? Honestly, if I had to be a betting man, I would say yes. So the question, I guess, is, what now? Wait around here, come right back down, shake people out that all just pile in for maybe the next week or two. I don't know. I'm not going to try to predict all that. All I know is today is the all-time high day, and I'm excited. But do not sleep on these Gann horizontals. And at the very least, like Jim said, have a strategy. Jimbo, I mean, I would bet dollars to donuts that at some point before the next all-time high for this cycle, this 20 SMA will get a tag. So how disciplined can we be if maybe it's like, SMA starts coming up, and then it's like, oh my God, regulations, SMA's coming up.
And then we were talking about that before, like the regulations and on the self-custody is just going to hurt the individual, like the smaller retail individuals versus the actual large institutional players who make up the majority of the net inflow. They love KYC. They love all that shit. They're bringing it with them. So I think it's going to have less of an effect on inflows, and it's just going to hurt the sovereign individual. It's a small retail guy. At the end of the day, this is just going to become an asset class for the rich and early adopters, obviously.
Yeah.
Which are then going to...
I mean, Bitcoin will. And that's actually kind of always been my thinking. People are like, well, it'll never be cash. It's too expensive and slow. And I'm like, I don't know that I ever saw it as cash. Even by the time I got here, it was kind of impractical. And it makes sense if we're going to have this sort of digital currency ecosystem that Bitcoin could be that, that reserve currency, that gold backed standard, the thing that everything else is based off of. And then, you'll have your nano or you have your XRP, you have your whatever that ends up being some kind of more transactional currency. And I'm not shilling XRP. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that. But I'm just thinking of the fast ones, the super fast, super cheap, whichever one you have in your bag that you want to be the future, that can be the one I'm talking about. It's all good. But the point is, there's going to be many, just like there are many currencies in the world. And I don't see any reason why This is also why like the bag holder kind of tribalism always kind of I find perplexing, because it's as if there's this argument that there will be just one, and I just don't buy it, you know. Especially with all the different altcoins. I mean, there's just different things. I think DeFi eventually will have to thin out. You know, the TVLs will all conglomerate to some of the larger plays, and we'll see how those scale. But I think there's so much room here for so many different coins to have such a huge impact and increase in value, obviously along the way. But Bitcoin to me is, you know, it's just that golden standard. And let's look what the dominance is doing today. It's at an interesting. Yeah, it's up. Go figure. It went up a bit. It's at an interesting level. You know, it did kind of screw up this rising wedge. That's fine. They do sometimes break up. They are just percentage patterns, not guarantees. This downtrend line has been such a level. You know, we tagged it, dropped. Well, actually, it formed off of this tag, so I can't really say that. So it was here, formed after tagging here, and then it tagged here, where you could use it more in a predictive sense, and it was like a perfect tag. And then here, rejected, here, broke up, rejected. The trend line is still intact. To break a trend line like this, according to the rules that I follow, you can't just go through and get a close and it's like, oh, trend line's broken. What you need is bullish market structure on the other side. That invalidates the trend. Otherwise, you just get these fake outs. And just like right here, right? If you said, oh, the trend line's broken because of this candle closing, well, you were wrong. It came right back down. So to avoid those false signals, the way I've learned it is you really want to wait for bullish structure on the other side of a trend line to eliminate it. And that, you know, that's coming from old Brian Beamish. Man knows his stuff. So, you know, if you want to go to war with 30 years of experience, be my guest. I will copy. And so in this case, we are at this level. And that's pretty sick, because there's still a chance that we could just get some kind of right shoulder, you know, some kind of lower high. As long as it's lower than this, we're trending down on Bitcoin dominance. And that's actually what I would expect, because like you said, Nick, retail is coming. They are going to see these headlines. They're suddenly going to see price discovery. The new predictions are going to start talking about why 20K is suddenly cheap. And it's never going to be cheap, though. It's going to be expensive. People are going to look at it and they'll say, I don't want that. What's the next thing? What's the other thing? What's the next Bitcoin? And there's lots to choose from. And so in that case, I think there's a really nice case to be made for the next cycle in altcoins. Whether that's this week, this month, or Q2, which is my favorite time to be longing altcoins. Seasonally speaking, even in the bear market, Q2s tended to do really well. So that's what I'm watching. What are you looking at today if you were a trader trying to make some money in all this juice?
Well, I could be scalping the volatility on ETH. Same thing with Bitcoin, but again, I don't really want to be looking for too many shorts on BTC unless it's some like insane, 5-minute candle that deserves to be faded. But yeah, I think the other opportunities are kind of just waiting for alts. Farming, farming is still super profitable. Yeah, I think it's kind of just a wait and see if you weren't already positioned for this ride up. Obviously, this is huge resistance on Ethereum right now, so tough to buy that. But if it does break out here, from the 630 was the high, this thing is destined to climb back up to that 720 level. Next is the next major level. Yeah, about 715, 720. And if it busts through that, then this thing's gonna melt up to 800, 820 bucks. So I think ETH is the next big trade to be watching, really. Just because Bitcoin's already, broken its range. And ETH just has so much more to go in it in terms of filling these horizontals and stuff right now. So that's kind of what I'm watching for. And yeah, just kind of waiting for ETH.
Yeah, I think it's very easy when Bitcoin is doing crazy things, whether that's down or up, to then get caught looking. And that goes for altcoins too. When they're melting up, it's very hard to see, oh shit, Bitcoin's doing this, like key level, whatever. So on days like today, I spend the first hour of the day today, I'm just staring at Twitter, I'm staring at charts. I'm like, oh my God, Bitcoin. But then, very quickly, I got to reel myself in and I've got to say, okay, where's my opportunity? Because I can't necessarily take longs. I mean, like I said, I bought some today just because it looked so friggin' delicious.
Yeah.
And I had some tether, and I thought that's not really working. I'm shorting Bitcoin essentially. So I put that tether to work around 9,800 or whatever it is, 19,800. And I kind of half expected to eat shit on it. I was like, I'm being undisciplined, but it worked out for now. Point being, I can't really trade that like size futures, whatever. This is what I'm seeing on Ethereum. We talked about the Gann horizontals earlier. There's a big one on Ethereum, and you can already see even on just this chart what these Gann horizontals do. I mean, if you kick out this Gann square from the highs basically of 2018, early 2018, you get this extrapolation, this Gann square high time frame, and you can see that created this red line here. It's one of the Gann horizontals, and go figure. Wish I was looking at it at the time, but like this thing put the bottom in the market right around $100. And another tap in March, right around $100. So this Gann horizontal saved the day, so to speak. And it's crazy because that is just an extrapolation of like two pivots all the way up here. So the fact that just matches is why I love Gann. It's just trippy stuff. And the next Gann horizontal is up, and it's up here at about 750. So kind of that level you're watching. My take on this on Monday stream and like a little Twitter after was like, how do we not hit this green box? That's a huge window. And I did that intentionally because, I can just see so many paths, right? Whether it's like, ooh, look at this, we're going to retest, or, and then get up here and like whatever the path is, that's a bearish path. I think, I think probability lies in a much more direct bullish path. But either way, I just don't see a scenario where we don't hit this level unless there's some catastrophic failure or event. Very low probability that we miss this level. In other words, how could you miss this level? Well, you either never get there or you get there somewhere over here, like way off later next year, which again, I just don't see it. So pretty excited about Ethereum. It is my heaviest bag because it's just kind of a rock, like I don't have to sit in huge altcoin bags necessarily long term. Obviously, Bitcoin's a great one to have as your base, but I actually really like Ethereum as a base, and mostly it's because of this weekly chart that I want to show you. And I show this probably every stream, but it doesn't make it any less sexy.
I think after that, quick comments on the USD as well are warranted at these levels.
Yeah, I saw a comment in the chat about that on the Dixie. I mean, when I look at this chart, I just think, I'm probably leaning a little bit more bullish towards Ethereum as far as competing with Bitcoin through this next year. And the fact that CME futures are going to go live potentially on February 8th, I think is really good. I mean, of course, they can short, so it's not like they're just long over there. But what it does is it opens up regulated liquidity for larger players to come and get involved. And there is demand there for Ethereum. I don't think there's any doubt of that. And it's just a matter of liquidity. So that's going to be really good, I think.
I think Ethereum will definitely be the next asset to be institutionalized for sure.
Yeah, just writing is on the wall there. So let's take a look at the Dixie. What are you seeing? And then I'm going to get to some questions. I see Darth Bitcoin has a good question in there. I want to get to that.
Yep. So obviously, massive QE stimulus probably still coming. So people have been selling off the USD in anticipation of that, kind of just following what the Fed has been saying there. M1 money supply expanded greatly. M1 money supply, I see everybody linking that. It's not the greatest data set to be looking at, really. You should at least be looking at M2. Counts for a lot more. But yeah, it's an easy share on Twitter. People love it, but they don't really understand it. Plus, they probably don't understand the effects of it either. Anyways, the bullish throwback level here on the US dollar. This is a huge yearly level as well, down here to 11.65. I do think we're going to see a bounce in this area. Where I don't think it's going to be a huge bounce, but I think we could retest this bearish throwback level up here at like 11.888, basically. A retest of that and confirmation. If it rejects there, I'd be very confident that we're going to go down here 11.6 for sure. And why are we tracking this? Because that's good for Bitcoin. If USD is losing value, it's losing some narrative. whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. If people think it, they're going to react in the markets the way we're seeing. And so, yeah, I think we can see a bounce. If the USD does, like when it does reverse, and it will, it's going to be fucking painful, because I guarantee everybody's going to be on the wrong side of these trades. Like short the USD is definitely one of the most crowded trades right now. But I'd say short USD, the long on tech. Like I get it, it makes sense. There's a huge shift in like consumer spending and behavior and stuff. Makes sense that the USD, go down with QE and tech just being so dominant in terms of earnings now. They've captured such a much larger percentage of the consumer market now, because everything's running through them. They're like these giant fucking gatekeepers for everything, all these services and supply chains. But yeah, US dollar, as long as it's going down, really good for crypto. But I do
Kind of
expect
insane to be shorting it there.
this is a terrible spot to be shorting the US dollar. Awful spot. Like
Yeah.
you've had so many opportunities over the last months.
Yeah, you come now? Now you want to short the US dollar at this Wyckoff throwback level? Like maybe it's going down, but where's your risk reward on that trade? It's just a great proxy at this point for me. I don't trade it obviously, but yeah.
There's no reason to trade this. Exactly. It's just like keeping an eye on it, because it is a reserve currency. So, it's good to keep an eye on it. And then quickly looking at S&P, just sitting here in resistance, right? QE is bullish for equities, because where's the money really going to go, right? Bitcoin, stocks, that's essentially at bond yields are shit, right? Interest rates probably not going to be going up anytime soon. So
I heard mortgage, something like, again, just a tweet, I didn't vet it, but 40% of Americans are facing eviction potentially.
40 million households, 30 to 40 million.
Jesus.
Yeah, and like we've been talking about that for a while. Some economies are more dependent on housing for GDP and propping things up. Australia comes to mind. Obviously, Canada comes to mind. US housing, to some degree, yes, but not as much as Canada and Australia in terms of like exposure to the economy and percentage of GDP it accounts for. But yeah, there's right now the entire housing market's been subsidized, right? That's top down. So rent deferments for payments, but also deferments and rent increases. That stuff's just getting kicked down the road. And if we do see inflation in the economy, what's going to happen to those prices, right? They have to rise, right? So if you see stagflation, which majority of the economies are in that, and you don't have any wage growth, and this is all getting pent up, right? Like as soon as the subsidies end and the restrictions on rent increases end, I get like that shit is going up. It's fucking going up. So it's gonna put a pinch on a lot of households and a lot of people. And I don't expect wage growth to be on the top minds of employers and small businesses that are getting fucking destroyed right now, right?
No.
So the economies are heavily subsidized right now by federal governments, and that's pretty obvious in the deficits that we're seeing. And if that ends, with as high as unemployment is right now, pretty much globally, really, right? It could be devastating. So like there's definitely a tsunami, like there's a tsunami-like movement in the markets right now, especially in housing, where the tide is going out. And people are not paying attention. It's like I remember these videos of watching the big tsunami in Indonesia. Everybody, when it was happening, they were rushing out to the beaches. Well, what the fuck do you think happened? All those people died, obviously, right? When the actual tsunami hit. But I see a lot of that happening in the markets right now. I think people are comfortable thinking these subsidies are going to last forever. And once they end, here comes the fucking wave to wipe everything off the face of the earth. So yeah, it's pretty dangerous. It's a huge knife hand above the economy for households, and with a credit contraction as well. Like when this stuff hits, what do you think people are going to be doing? They're going to be looking for loans, and with the credit contractions we've seen, it's going to be tough to get those loans. So the only solution I see, in my opinion, is like they have to keep the subsidies going. Everything's on life support, so it's going to be very difficult to unwind this. So yeah, it's super interesting, but I'd be careful.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much of that going on right now. This kind of concern around the global economy, and maybe I'm ignorant to it, so I have the I am blessed with ignorance in that sense. I just focus on crypto, and right now it's looking really bullish. And it's, if anything, I feel like it's a hedge against some of the craziness with the US dollar and all the other shit. But I'm always going to try to keep a level head. Today it's hard because I'm just emotional because of the last 3 years of torture, essentially. I mean, we had some good times, and I did a lot of positive things and learning and growing as a trader and as a human, but the swings were insane. And we spent a lot of time, especially in the lowest parts of those 3 years, just kind of I don't know, like dreading, maybe regretting, I could have had secured all this from 2017. And I actually had an ICO that I went pretty heavily in 2018 with some of the 2017 gains. And when it finally launched, I actually pre-launch, I added a whole bunch more. And when it came out, it was like 5x, and I was up big. And I was like, instead of learning my lesson and being like, ooh, this time I'm going to hold on to this, I had this attitude like, oh, finally we're back. I can relax. This thing's going to the moon. Like, it was all just a bad dream. And then that thing fucking dumped and it went crazy low. And I was like, well, I held this far. I'm going to hold again. So I made the same mistake a second time through the bear market and basically went halfway up to my all-time high of 2017 and then all the way back down. And so when I say that I'm emotional today in a good way, it's just like, we made it. And even if Bitcoin, closes wherever and has a bad week next week, or does roll over the way that some people still think it will, we've come this far. We've made it this far. We're in new all-time highs. I'm confident we're going to go very, very high over the next 10 years. And I just have this wave of relief. And for now, I'm not even making that many trades today. I'm just kind of enjoying the moment and observing everything and not trying to think too far ahead around the economy and all that stuff, even though it's important to, and that's why I love hanging out with you, because you keep me level. But we'll see. We'll see. I do have a lot of hope in a weird way for the recovery going forward.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I'm ignorant. I don't watch the news, so maybe like I think Ontario, where I live, had like a new all-time high for new cases yesterday. I wouldn't know because I stay inside. I work from home, and I don't watch the news. So
we insulate ourselves in our bubble of ignorance.
Yeah,
it's called the ostrich effect, actually.
Yeah. But, yeah. Okay. What do you got?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, everybody's looking for this retail FOMO, but what happens, if we see that rug pull on the housing, I guarantee you there's going to be way less retail FOMO. They're reprioritizing, food.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's always this looming economic crisis. Not to say always, but like more and more lately. Yeah. And I don't think that's gone yet. One thing I learned the hard way, like after March, I was pretty bearish on the stock market. And then you're like, wait a sec, they're just going to scam it right back up and print money and inflate it and whatever. And I'm done, trying to understand how the hell all of that works. It doesn't make sense. It's been so irrational for so long.
It makes sense. I'll explain it. There's no good place to put your money, period. Everything else, the yields are really crappy in government bonds. And the appeal of bonds decreases as the debt loads increase, right? So we got that. There's so much negative yielding debt out there. There's a risk of massive devaluations across all these other currencies, right? So you don't want to be keeping your money, your assets in fiat for the most part. Even with USD, normally a safe haven for fiat, going down because of just the massive stimulus we're seeing, the inflation, right? Well, risk of inflation, projected inflation, etc. There's no good spot to put your money, really, other than
until Bitcoin. And that's actually, again, maybe why I don't feel as worried about the greater good, because I'm so friggin' exposed to Bitcoin and crypto that
you're on the right side.
I'm on the right side. I feel good, and I don't feel good about it. Like, I'm not going to cheer if the economy crashes and I get rich. Like, my family, my friends, not enough of them are involved in this stuff. So it's going to be a mixed bag of emotions as you're like, hey, I'm super rich, and then everyone is like, I just lost my house. I need your help. And I don't look forward to that part of that if that's going to happen. But I will say this is the bull case for Bitcoin happening right before our eyes that was written from the beginning of Bitcoin time. And in many ways was like, yeah, someday there's going to be hyperinflation and the US dollar is going to be weak. And we're seeing it. And we're seeing, that what was the insurance company from Massachusetts? Like, they've got billions and billions of dollars under management or whatever in their treasury. And they just put 100 million into Bitcoin because they're like you said, it's like there's not too many sexy places to park your wealth that you can count on being where they are tomorrow or growing from where they are today. So it's pretty fucking cool that Bitcoin is now on that world stage for that kind of thing. Because if that happens and it becomes a thing, and I think it is, and it's going to, and that's the floodgate that we're seeing open now, we're not talking about $100,000 Bitcoin. We're talking about multi-million-dollar Bitcoin.
Yeah,
If that kind of wealth floods in.
Yeah, you could just take a measurement of the liquid assets in the world. I think Finney did this very early on. So you compile a list of the liquid assets. So that's sitting in markets, commodities, equities, household savings, all of that shit. If you even see a 1-2% movement of that into crypto, this thing is sky fucking high. It really is a whole new paradigm. Like, this only ever happens once every few hundred years. Like, what are times to be alive?
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. Now, I'm going to share a video here because it's like the right time to do it, perhaps. I mean, always at the highs, right? But this shift for me today mentally was like, okay, finally we broke through this. Again, we could just come right back down. I mean, this could be a multi-day Bart Simpson. You don't know that. So I'm not going to sell the house and make big decisions today. But this breakout is so significant, obviously, that it makes me kind of look up and look future and think big and get a little more macro-y in my analysis for the first few days while I readjust. And so today I'm going to share this video. This is one that I saw in 2017 that just kind of, or early 2018, actually, I think, blew my mind. And that's the Thomas Lee analysis from Fundstrat. You know the one I'm talking about. And he basically does this really beautiful analysis. I got to say, as far as data goes, it seemed pretty objective. And at the time, a lot of people laughed at him because Bitcoin was going down, and then in the months following, it went down so much, and it was like, oh, remember that time Thomas Lee talked about Bitcoin going to $10 million? But he's got a long time horizon. His analysis was based on a generational pivot. Anyways, check this out sometime. Obviously, not now because we're live, but if you guys want to see, that's the video I'm talking about, and it's just a really interesting analysis, and it might just give a broader perspective of what it would mean if the millennial generation, now that they've entered their savings and investing years, what that cohort could do if they decide that they prefer cryptocurrency as an investment opportunity versus, say, the boomers who obviously preferred stocks. The millennial generation is larger than the baby boomer generation. Obviously, population is bigger. So they could do a lot more to it. And the place where it is starting is much lower than where the stocks were in the 80s. So just a really good analysis, and I would just say check it out. I liked it. I liked it a lot when Bitcoin was worth 18,000, and I liked it at 3,000, and I like it even more now at 20,000. So can't argue with it. I mean, just kind of, he definitely draws some conclusions, but his data is there. So anyways, love that guy. And shout out to him, because I don't really remember that he changed his tune during the bear market. He just kind of said, yeah, we got 10 years. I'm not at least I'm not wrong yet. Let's get into a few coins. We have a super hard stop at 3. Both of us need to be on a specific call that actually got pushed back so that we could make it. So we can't be late for that. So that gives us 15 minutes to dig through this. And, Darth Bitcoin is over here on TradingView asking some questions and talking about a few altcoins. And the one thing I said to him is, I try to avoid big bags in any single altcoin because, well, yeah, because first of all, it just makes me emotional, right? Yeah. And then if it drops 5%, I'm like much more likely to do something dumb, like sell the dip on support or something, versus like if I want to have exposure to altcoins, I pick a basket perhaps of ones that I'm bullish on, and I set my time horizon, or I'm trading them, and I have my setups, my stop losses, my take profits. Because if there's going to be absolute blood in altcoins at some point during this bear market or bull market, and there's going to be absolute moon on altcoins at some point during this. And so what I don't want to do is get caught in some huge bag that I'm just blindly holding, and then I end up selling it at the worst time and maybe buying it back at the worst time. Like, that's my one piece of personal advice to myself, is to avoid overexposure to any one thing.
Mm-hmm. I am overexposed to algorithmic stablecoins.
I am also, but not because I went and bought them with that much percentage of my portfolio, but more like the share thing. Like, that thing just blew up and it went like 60x. So that amount that I have now has taken over my portfolio, and I will admit the sweat of the swings, even just this last week, are killing me. But you know, it is what it is. I've taken enough profit out of it that it's a zero cost bag, and the rest of it is dominating my portfolio for now.
We need
And
to do a special stream, and where we just discuss algorithmic stablecoins, because I think that those things are going to be the biggest trend in 2021. Big time.
yeah, I'm with you on that. And in particular, Dollar Protocol, which I know has a ton of mysticism around it. It is fairly complex, and even today I find myself daily like questioning if I'm doing exactly the right way to play it. So I know there's a few questions in the chat here about Dollar Protocol, about, you know, BAS, BAC, and about ESD, like some of these algorithmic stablecoins. And I'm with you, man. What about Friday? Let's make a pretty committed segment on Friday. And
I mean, I talk about it for hours. There's so much to go through.
I know. So we're gonna make a commitment to you guys for Friday. We're gonna have some stuff prepared. We'll go through some of the bigger names in algorithmic stablecoins, some of our thoughts, what we're doing. Yeah, and the different alpha. I mean, the cool thing about Dollar Protocol is there's so many ways to really access it and participate in it, and it's still very young. It's still very high risk in the sense that, you know, it's not fully decentralized, fully whatever. So, you know, keep that kind of stuff in mind too. But we're obviously super bullish on that sector.
There's no better yield generation than that farming those coins right now. Like, it's
completely changed my mind.
Like the seniorage space is going to multi-billion-dollar market cap in 2021. It's going to happen. That's what's good. That's where money's going to flow. Just like we called the DeFi fucking bubble, just like we called the fucking dot trend. This is the next trend of where things are going to go, big time.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Nick Cote is bullish on algorithmic stablecoins, and I tend to follow your macro theses, because that would have put me on DeFi in April. That would have put me on Polkadot names like Kusama and all that, probably before April, but especially later in the summer. And basically, all the things that you talk about in that kind of trend sense have come out. Even NFT week, man. We were talking about NFTs the week before they had their little mini bubble.
I almost forgot about them, but yeah, they're exploding now.
And so that's probably another reason, if I'm going to touch on why I don't hold a huge bag of a random altcoin for long term like I used to. I like to stay liquid. I like to stay, in and out as a trader. And one of the reasons is because things shift. And if 1 week exchange tokens are hot in 2018, BNB took people by surprise, and suddenly KCS, Huobi token, like it felt like free money. It turned into like, which exchange token hasn't pumped? And then you just go buy it, and sure enough, a week later, it's up 200%. So if that trend is identified, I want to be liquid. I want to be able to act on it with as much of my portfolio as possible, and not have 50 altcoins that I'm like, well, someday they'll have their trend. It's like, nah, man, full ride, full trend. When I spot it, I'm in. And that's sort of been a shift for me, a big shift over the last 2 years. One of the things I learned in the bear.
Yep. Quickly, let's just take a look at a few charts. 10 minutes, rapid fire.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I'm going to kick it off like this. This is going to be such a great trade. This is the DeFi perp, and you can extrapolate this to all the major blue chip DeFi coins, depending on the way this breaks. Let me pull it out here to give you the full perspective. This is going to be a nice 16% trade in either direction. This obviously the inside bar setup that we've been watching for a long fucking time. Whenever this thing finally does close, and see, this is why you don't trigger the trade until it closes below the level, because it got wicked, so you would have been selling the bottom. But wherever this does break, it's going to be this will be a trend caller for sure for the entire space. Good 16% on each side of this. Times that by 2. for the movements on the DeFi coins. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for here in terms of like which next DeFi coins are worth looking at and taking a swing trade on. Let's just see how this perp goes. So that'll cut down a lot of time saving here. We don't have to look at the DeFi pairs because we know wherever this index goes, so too will the other coins.
Yeah, no, I stopped charting that thing for a little bit there, but mostly because you have been doing it. But I like to watch it as the trend. What is YFI doing right now? You've been charting that one fairly accurately over the last few weeks. Let's take a quick look.
Yeah, so it's basically the exact same chart as the index perp, which is pretty much to be expected. Daily looks pretty good. Daily bullish engulfing right now. Stoke, still looking pretty strong here as well. Actually, let's do this on a different one. Yeah, they all kind of look the same. I would say, this big range here, obviously 31, 32. Whenever we start closing above this level, that's going to be your signal to ape into a big YFI if you're not already long. Adding to it, we'll probably get some really solid price discovery closing above these levels. A series of higher lows off this. This is a fantastic looking candle. If I were long in this range, this candle right here is probably going to be my stop loss. If we're closing below that 24,000, I'd be a little bit concerned. But it is in a giant range right now, right? At 22,000 to 32,000. So however this breaks, and it's trending up. So that's going to be your directive of what to do next on YFI. But right now, kind of just stuck in that little range at the moment. But looks bullish, looks strong. Wouldn't be surprised if we go back up to retest this 28.5 level.
Sweet. Let's take a look at Rook. Rook came up on the Monday stream. I did a little extension after Karush went off. And, this thing, I had to rechart it because ChartX is still having some trouble saving the ink on my charts. Now they do save watch lists, which is kind of cool. But, you had the big breakout, the sort of coming out party. Hey, look at me. I'm Rook. I'm super cool. I'm badass. Then you have the shakeout party where it comes back down to the reload zone. We got the bullish market structure, says I'm ready for more. And as usual, I always say, right, if you really want to play this thing tight, draw up another fib after that breakout of the new structure, and you can usually get a fill there. And that's what we saw on Monday. A really nice level came in, and it looks like we just broke out of it. Slightly lower low on the right, but that doesn't matter because this is the market structure I'm working with. And it was around $74 on stream on Monday, and I'm actually happy to announce I did remember to write it down and actually go pick some up. So very pleased today to see it up about 22% and, some nice volume coming into support. So this does look promising as far as upside goes in the near term. And, something to keep in mind with this, and that's, of course, I buy first and then I was like, oh, I better go research this. Should I be staking my Rook? Should I be holding my Rook? Is it inflationary? And if I'm not staking it, I'm losing money. I did find that they actually say right on their Medium that holders should be diluted, basically said. It says we have an inflation mechanism that rewards the keepers and rewards the LPs. And basically, if you're just going to sit there and hold your Rook, we want you to get diluted. We want to encourage you to not just do that, to actually go and participate. So I haven't fully figured out how best to, how to even become a keeper. It was a bit confusing. I have to look into that more. It is possible that there's going to be enough hype and enough drive in this thing to outweigh the inflation and that we could go up to the fib extension target. That we're in a rush, so I won't do it right this second. But basically, it was like up in here, like the 618 of this move. I could see that coming in regardless of the inflation, but I was a little cautious because of that. So until I fully understand this and where to stake it, I'm not going to do anything crazy, huge plays. But what a level! Rook looks good. And real quick, just because I have it on here, and I know a lot of people who are watching follow us on Twitter and have been watching. This is the share chart right now. Huge explosion. This one's a little weird because this is a V1 graveyard. So I don't think that can be counted as sort of accurate or relevant price action because right now we're in V2. It's a whole sort of new project. So you almost want, the 3-to-1 dilution happened around here. So you almost want to ignore that a little bit. I still draw my fib from it because I just want to be as conservative as possible. But we came in perfect tap on the 702 on the first drop off the highs. right back up. It's just fib ponging. So I've got this level circled for the next thing. And what I'll be watching for is the resolution of this triangle that's forming, this little consolidation, which just looks like a bull flag. So, we'll see how this resolves. Typically, big volume, high breakout, flagging tends to continue. That's going to be very much dependent on this chart, though, of course, because this is the USD coin. And it only really pays off to hold share and all these other things if this is trading above this level, this 105 level. That's where you get positive rebase. So keep a close eye on this chart when it comes to speculating on share. I'm super bullish. I'm not like going to sell my share if we go into negative rebase. In fact, I'm in a weird way hoping we do, because then we can load up on the X bond. But we'll get into that on Friday. Keep an eye on this chart, though. This is an important one when you're looking at share.
Yeah. I'll have to set up maybe. Yeah.
What do you got?
I don't know. We just talked about it for such a long time. We'll have to get together on scheduling on that one.
Yeah. No, I think we can do a little bit more of a walkthrough kind of thing. I mean, I think there's a lot of demand in the audience to just get a little bit more deep dive on strategies, not just like, here's the name of a coin, here's a chart, but like, how do we play it? How can we optimize it? So we will look into that. DFD is another one that I actually did stake today. Now I'm into staking, obviously, because the share stuff is working out. I'm like, oh, I get this now. So I did add some more DFD yesterday on this pullback here, because this breakout on volume just looks so bloody good. And then I found out that you have to stake it on the site to sort of optimize. So I'm doing that. I think I made like, I don't know, 70 DFD tokens overnight. So that's like $35, not bad for like a reasonably sized stake. And I'm just going to keep doing that. I mean, this volume looks sick. And, you guys already know that was right out of the reload zone. Start using these fibs, guys, if you want to find buy zones. They get really boring and annoying down in these levels, but they often age well if it's a bull. And this one looks like with the volume, it wants to get higher. So I'm pumped about DFD.
Full send, I'll give. The other coin, obviously, quickly worth mentioning here, 2 minutes, is Sushi Perp. We've been following this one for a while. We've saying, this great daily level down here. Well, it's rallied pretty hard off that daily level. And it's coming into a very key daily resistance, which I think we will see a pullback once we hit it, kind of around here. Was that 3.2? Yeah, around 3.2. Could wick up, a little bit more. I have this entire range as an option, 3.4. So, maybe 10 to 20% move up into this resistance level. But, looks good, looks strong. It'd be great to get that test 3.19 right there. So I do expect a little bit of throwback. What you're going to be looking about for an entry at that point is if we come back to this, 2.5 level, 2.7, even this could potentially flip to support. So 2.6. Basically, I just want to see a retest of this form of resistance, right? Turn that support, and just going to continue to confirm bull. Right now, looks super strong. Probably one of the best plays in crypto, and it's going to be coming into that key level, 20% higher from here. And
yeah, I keep hearing from some DeFi bros that that sushi is not to be on. I mean, again, it's not at a level where I can rush in and buy. It doesn't fit my plan, but as like maybe a buy and hold next time it hits the support level for a year, like cool, that might be a name to keep an eye on. Let's flip back to, we do have to cut right on the minute today. We promised when these guys changed the call time that we would be there. But you know what? It's new all-time highs for Bitcoin. I'm feeling really fired up and bullish. So tomorrow is a day. So put your notifications on, hit us with the sub and the like. And if we do go live tomorrow, if we find some time, maybe do a little dollar protocol algorithmic stablecoin special. You never know. Maybe I can twist Nick's arm. We'll get a little extra stream in tomorrow. If not, we'll see you on Friday, regardless, at 2 p.m. Eastern. So be there. And I've got a special DeFi specialist, special guest coming in on Monday. You've never heard of him. Guarantee it. He's not on social media other than to other people. He's never tweeted once. But I've been on a few calls with him lately. I work with him in a certain capacity over the last few weeks. The dude is, I want to say a genius. Like, as far as what he's telling me, I'm like, holy shit, you can do that? So he's got so many different things he's doing to gather edge. And I don't know that he can share them all, but he said he wants to come on. And I said that the purpose was to share as much alpha as possible. And he agreed. So I assume there will be some really good tidbits in there. So you can look forward to that on Monday. And I mean, this is a guy who's like spinning up his own nodes just to like hack into the mempools and front run other bids so that he doesn't have to pay fees and shit. Like, it's really smart shit. Getting every percentage out of his APYs as an LP as possible. So really excited to get into that more DeFi centric chat on Monday. Other than that, guys, have a wonderful day. And without further delay, I must say goodbye. So happy Bitcoin highs, and let's see where we end up on Friday. Have a wonderful day, guys. Whatever you do, always play from a position of strength. Take care.
See you guys.